We're just waiting for Anne-Marie now. Wow, we've actually crashed YouTube. That's never happened before.
It's not just you. Apparently, that a lot of stuff are going on Twitter about YouTube at the moment. A lot of things are crashing and stuff.
Ah, right. Anne-Marie, we've crashed YouTube. We are actually live now, Anne-Marie, so no swearing.
No swearing.
We know what you're like with your potty mouth.
Yeah.
That's it. So, Dan, a serious question for you. What's the biggest problem at your club at the minute? The team, the manager, or the owners?
It's a great question. I'd say that I can't answer it because my first instinct is the owners. But again, I know you will hear that I'd be like another United fan talking about Glazers out and stuff. We know that the Glazers aren't going to leave anytime soon, but I will put them as number one as the main priority. I will put players as number two, and I will put Ten Hag as the lowest like issue at the moment because, you know, like I said before, Eric Ten Hag can only give these players instructions on what to do, and at the end of the day, you know, the players have to go out and do it themselves. The owners are always, we know what the owners are, the businessmen. They aren't competent. I mean, United, our owners in the Glazers don't even own the full stake of the club. They own 69% and then soon to be 44% when Sir Ratcliffe is apparently to take over. But I don't believe all that news because until I see Sir Ratcliffe saying he's the new director or the new shareholder, then that's what I'm going to do because I don't believe
it's an interesting one though, isn't it? Because if you go back, I mean, I don't know how long you've been supporting them, but if you go back to when Ferguson was manager and he had horses with JP McManus and different Irish fellas who were all shareholders at United at the time, they had a falling out over one of the race horses. I think it was Rock of Gibraltar, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
Yeah, and when that happened, McManus and his mate took the money out and sold their shares in Old Trafford to the Glazers. Yeah. Now, whoever this Radcliffe fella who's supposedly coming in, you know, allegedly, where's he getting his money from?
I mean,
that's right, JP McManus. So it's as if he did the damage in the first place by selling his shares to the Glazers, and he's now.
I don't agree with that, Dan. I think the Glazers have spent millions upon millions. Like even that last signing in Holland, 70 million. There's no team in the Premiership can spend what Man United do.
But the thing is, due to our debt, due to our facilities, you can't say that they've spent money because they never actually dug deep in their own pocket.
On the playing staff they have. You can't say they haven't spent it on the playing staff they have. I know you've a leaky roof and your training ground is shit. And
listen, we're gonna have pretty much not the same, but the scenario could happen once Pep goes. It's who was going to follow Fergie. It's.
Yeah, it's not just that though, Andy. It's the fact that since the Glazers took over, they've consistently taken money out of the club. That's not something our owners have ever done.
Welcome back, DC, mate. The point I'm trying to make there is right from the outside looking in. Right, you try. Let's do an analogy then. It's like who's going to replace Rodri? We've seen nobody can replace Rodri. Nobody could replace Fergie because United have had that many mismanagement and stuff. I think I'm with Paddy there. I think the Glazers have thrown a shed load of money in. It's just on the managing side. Good. Welcome back, Sub and Ethan and whoever's joining us now, guys. So it's an interesting one. I think the Glazer thing is a bit of a smokescreen for bad management. Do
you know what I think doesn't help, and maybe not so much now with Eric Ten Hag, but before him, Fergie sitting in the stand looking fucking down on top of him. Like he has too much power in that club. He shouldn't be in that stand. He puts him, especially with David Moyes, he put him under savage pressure.
No, but they said the same when Matt Busby used to be sat in the stand, didn't they?
The thing is, we don't know what goes on behind the club. All we do is hear the reports and we see what we see on the pitch once or twice a week for 90 minutes. That's all we know as fans. We don't know how to run football clubs. We don't know what the deals that are happening. We don't know the talks and conversations they're all having. All we get is the Twitter reports, daily, or the BBC or the Manchester Evening News and all that stuff. And that's what we have to go off. Obviously, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. The Sancho situation, the sale process for Manchester United, situations that you guys have, like when Cancelo last season, when then Ten Hag and him had a fallout, all you could go off was the reports that you were given. And at the end of the day, it is very frustrating. And I will stand by that, like United's era came to an end when Sir Alex retired. We had so many different managers. We've had Mourinho, who was a proven winner. We've tried Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We've tried Van Gaal. We've tried so many different managers, and it's just clear that everyone wants a short-term fix, and everyone thinks they can fix it like a click of the fingers, but it's not that simple. If United was to sack Erik Ten Hag tonight after this embarrassing performance, then what's going to happen? We're going to bring a new manager in, which you're going to have to pay compensation for because managers will be high in demand. Then you've also got a manager who will be asking these players that we've currently got to play a different style of football. And you'll also have him wanting to bring in players that he wants to have. And that's why Manchester United have fell behind so much, because they haven't backed any managers. We should have gone for Mourinho from the get-go, or tried someone new, because David Moyes, even though Fergie recommended him, I'd never know why I went for David Moyes in the first place. We just haven't been run properly, and that's why I'll always blame the Glazers. I know you guys will say that United spend 100+ million each season, but at the end of the day, City, look at you. You've had about 5 different goalkeepers until you got Edison, and now you've got probably one of the best goalkeepers in the world.
No, we didn't, mate. No, we didn't. We went from Joe Hart, Bravo, and then Edison.
All right. Well, you've had a certain position, but what I'm trying to say is that if something doesn't work out for City, you can guarantee in the January transfer window or in the following season they're replaced like that. United are still waiting to replace Wayne Rooney. Ronaldo, but the first time Ronaldo was here, we're looking to replace the actual star team who won all the trophies. That's what we're trying to replace. But we've got all these players now who claim to be superstars, and at the end of the day, I've said it, that if United was to be relegated to the Championship this season, can guarantee the majority of the players that play for Manchester United now won't be here because they don't care about the club.
Well, you'll find nowadays, Dan, like that's kind of like an old style mentality. The very few players care about the club now. They're employees, as simple as that. But like my question, like, how long would you give Erik Ten Hag? Would you give him to the end of the season?
Say that again, sorry.
How long would you let Erik Ten Hag be in charge of United? Like,
I would have to say I'd give Erik Ten Hag till the end of next season if things was to continue like this, because I'm giving him because I saw what Erik Ten Hag could do last season. Whether you want to say the Premier League was up to standard or not is completely up to you. It's clear the Premier League has really upgraded over last season, because you've got Spurs doing brilliant, Liverpool, you could say, are back and they're not even performing at the best. Obviously, Man City, and you've got Brighton, Aston Villa. You've got all these teams now competing for their Champions League spot, and it is very difficult. And at the end of the day, I would back Erik Ten Hag, because last season he got us to 2 cup finals, one that we won and then one that we lost, and we also got 3rd place. For a debut season for a manager, that's the best we've seen from any United manager. It's a debut season. I know people say, oh, well, Ollie got 2nd. Mourinho won the Europa League. But at the end of the day, like, why are you comparing to previous managers who failed? Yeah, it's all right, they won something, but right now this is our current manager, and I have to go off what our manager's already done. And I don't want to talk about the past, because the past managers, they're gone for a reason. Whether it was due to poor performances, whether it was due to falling out with the owners or the board, they're gone for a reason. Much like Fergie's gone for a reason. He's gone because he wanted to retire. And details matter. And for me, Eric Ten Hag is my man. I'll always say he's my manager because when United were looking for a new manager after Rangnick left, Pochettino was the name being pushed to Manchester United. Gary Neville, people in the media were all pushing for Pochettino to be Manchester United's new manager. But Manchester United fans demanded for Eric Ten Hag, and that's why I have such a close relationship to him, because if it wasn't for us protesting and demanding for Eric Ten Hag, he won't be here today.
Oh, Dan, hang on a minute. You're talking out your backside now. You're protesting.
Come on, Anne-Marie, bit of respect.
Yeah, well, no, but there's no way them protesting decided that Eric Ten Hag was going to them as a manager. I'm sorry. It's like saying, I mean, how many turned up to your protest for Greenwood? So he never played for you again.
Which protest are you referring to? Are you talking about when it was first? Were you talking about the protest when it was first announced, or the Greenwood situation? You're talking about when it was.
This was the one when they were talking about bringing him back.
Okay, there was over 5,000 fans there.
So you don't honestly think that
it seems like YouTube's broken again. Listen, we'll just go with it anyway as it is now. Anyway, you know, if it comes back
you're
on,
right in what you're saying, Dan. Like, you are going to have to give Eric Ten Hag the time. Like, he seems to be dealing with pressure situations. Ronaldo, Sancho. He seems to be that kind of style of manager. It's his way or the highway. But there are very few players in that team belong to him.
That's the thing, because Eric Ten Hag inherited this team. He inherited Sancho, he inherited Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford, all these players that were here before Eric Ten Hag. He inherited this team. Yes, certain signings of Eric Ten Hag haven't worked out. Like Antony so far, he hasn't hit the ground running. When you pay nearly 100 million euros for a player, you expect him to be one of the best players in your team. Antony hasn't proven that. He was on the bench today and only got 6-7 minutes. Completely lost his head and should have been sent off.
Dan, let me ask you a question, pal. Do you let's go back to Fergie. Do you, in my opinion, Fergie let United squad get aged. He knew it was coming to the end of an era. He didn't refresh it because he knew he was retiring. I don't think Fergie wanted anybody to hit the ground running after him. I think he wanted managers to struggle, whoever took over from him.
Maybe, and obviously, I've never considered that type of thought. I mean, for my knowledge, Fergie does love the club, but maybe he did sabotage us. Maybe he did want to be like, well, hang on a minute, I want to remain the best Manchester United manager of all time, so I did leave his in shit. Or it could have been that the Glazers didn't give him the backing, or it could have been that it could be any reason that we don't know. But coming back to Anne-Marie, where he said that I was talking out my ass. Like, you don't really understand the power of social media, and you probably don't remember you weren't focusing on Manchester United when Eric Ten Hag was becoming our manager. But I remember being on social media. I remember going to the protests. I'm not talking out my ass because Eric Ten Hag was never considered. Obviously, Pochettino, Manchester Evening News, that was the name that they were pushing out to be United's new manager. Gary Neville was saying on his Twitter that you can even find the tweets for yourself.
I could say on my Twitter that Sam Allardyce is going to be City's next manager. Just because it's on Twitter doesn't mean it's true.
Okay, but when you hear Fabrizio Romano when he says Kovacic to Manchester City, here we go, do you believe it?
Not necessarily. No. I don't believe any sign or any deal.
With Fabrizio, mate, I'm very, very vocal that he talks out of his hoop.
Well,
until I see the player hold the City shirt on the official website, I don't believe anything that I read.
Well, this is where obviously the generation difference comes in. Obviously, you can see the age difference here, and
absolutely,
without respect, but
what's happened to me in that time?
No, you're 21, mate. I like you.
And by the way, Dan, if you need us to translate for Paddy, just let us know and we'll translate, mate, because he's in a quiet.
But what I'm trying to say is that, the power of social media, Eric Ten Hag, when Manchester United were looking for a new manager, Eric Ten Hag wasn't even considered. It was United fans who were going to protest.
And this is my point. How do you know it wasn't considered? Because you're not part of what's going on in the background. So you can believe all you want about, oh yeah, fan power did it. It's like City fans protested when they knew Sven was going to get sacked. What difference did that make? None whatsoever. We got Mark Hughes.
Right.
Well,
let's assume.
Sorry, Andy. The two managers you mentioned, Dan Pochettino and Eric Ten Hag. Are you saying that you wanted Eric Ten Hag over Pochettino?
yes.
Why?
Because with Pochettino, obviously his recent time was with PSG. He was brought in as this established manager, this massive manager that was supposed to win him the Champions League. He struggled in the French side. He failed miserably in the Champions League multiple times in the season he was there. And plus, what he did with Spurs, I thought that he overachieved with what he did at Spurs, even though he didn't win anything. I felt like he got the best out of them players, but he was never going to win anything. But that's the way I see it. I'd never really liked Pochettino.
Did you not think PSG were a very dysfunctional team that with Alexa Mbappe and Neymar? They call them big egos. They're just kind of selfish and more worried about themselves. Where if Pochettino had, like, you can see what Pochettino's trying to do with Chelsea, and he is going to build a good team at Chelsea. You can be sure of that. But I don't see that with Eric Ten Hag at United, what he's trying to do or what he's trying to achieve.
I see your point, and obviously Pochettino is a well-respected manager in world football, but I will still stand by it. At the time, I still do believe that Eric Ten Hag is the right man for Manchester United. And if you asked me over a year ago, when Eric Ten Hag was appointed as Manchester United manager, I'll still turn around and say that I want Eric Ten Hag over Pochettino.
Right.
If United got to the Champions League final, would you be happy with that?
Now I got to Champions League final.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? I mean,
Right.
It's just that Pochettino did that with Tottenham. So
yeah, and like I said, that Pochettino
he's not a mug.
I'm not saying he's a mug.
Listen. Let me bring a bit of sanity to this, right? Paddy, I'm going to ask you this, Anne-Marie and Stan. Do you think it's commendable that you've got a fan sticking with the manager rather than, we should get somebody else, which would cause more upheaval? I actually respect that somebody wants to stick him.
100%, but I was just curious of why, in terms, say, in football, why Dan would choose Eric Ten Hag over Pochettino, where I think for football reasons are they build a team, and for somebody to be given, say, 3 years in the job, they build a team. I think Pochettino would have built a better team or a better foundation at Old Trafford than Eric Ten Hag will.
Looks like we're back up and running on YouTube. Right, so let's get into the match today now. Now we know where YouTube's working. Right. Let's start. Right, so to be fair, I thought it was men versus boys today. Yeah, I think it was a clear penalty. People say, yeah, well, there should be 3 or 4 of them in each match. Then so be it. Let's have 3 or 4 of them in every match up and down the country, and then players would finally learn. So a recap of what Dan says. You thought it was a potential red card for whoever dragged Bingy back. Yeah,
Stones.
But also, I thought we should have had another penalty in the second half when Haaland got hauled down in the penalty area.
Well, from Maguire.
Mm-hmm.
It was literally. And again, I'll say that because I try not to be a biased United fan. Because if that's me, what's the difference between the Højlund grabbing Rodri and Harry Maguire grabbing Haaland? They were both the same thing. Both United players were defending poorly and grabbing players. Both players had every right to go down because that's what the game's become now. And when I said before about John Stones, whether you want to say he clipped Højlund or not, whether it's cheating or not, 99% of players, if they're through in that position and they feel a bit of contact from a player defending them and they go down, 99% of players will do that. But Højlund decided not to. He wanted to play by the rules, if you wanted to say, and wanted to keep on his feet and actually try and score a proper football, an actual goal. But at the end of the day, Manchester City didn't even need penalties to beat Manchester United. It was a training session for you guys. And at the end of the day, like Andy said, it was men against boys today, and it just clearly just shows what Man City are. They're the dominant side of Manchester at the moment, and that's the way it's going to continue for foreseeable future.
I just thought today, and the good thing is, we've been saying it for quite a while, Dan, that we was just waiting, and I think I said it earlier in the show. We've won 8 out of 10 Premier League matches. The first 6, we was bare bones really with our squad, because we've not got the biggest squad on the planet. So for us to be 2 points behind the leaders now with a fully fit squad apart from KDB, I think people need to be a little bit wary of City. Do you, Stan?
Yeah, and I think today as well, Pep went a long way to proving the old get the tools that fit. I thought Grealish did the exact job that he needed to do. We didn't give possession away up front as we would have done with Doku. They're not the same players, they're different players, and they're coming in to do different jobs. And I thought he got it right. There was no overthinking from Pep today. He just went in and did what was needed. And he picked a team to carry out his instructions. Nothing wrong with that. There'll be other days when Doku will do it. So there is no big conversation as far as I'm concerned on who's the better or who do we need it. And we've said this many, many, many times. He will pick a team to suit who we're playing. And that's it. That's it. He'll get it wrong, but he'll get it right a lot more. And that's why we are where we are. That's all I can say, isn't it, Andy?
I'm reading. There was a point where Ederson was it at 1-0 or 0-0 where Ederson made an absolute worldie of a save. It was pretty much point blank, but
What, from McTominay?
Yeah.
That was 1-0 up.
That 1-0, and they say a save like that is as good as a goal. Could you see? I know you with your crystal ball, Mr. Meg. If that had gone in, could you have seen more of a push from United, or do you think we'd have just upped the gears a little bit?
I think we would probably have just upped the gears a little bit. It was one of the things, because you could. It sounds really a negative thing to say, but there was even when we were kind of going 2-0, 3-0 up, there was very little urgency with us, I didn't think. And we've still got so much more to offer going forward in the league. Like you say, I'd be worried if I was any of the teams above us, because we are only going to get better. We know that, because that's what we've done every season, and we've still got Kevin to come back as well.
I just jump in here. I just want to say, as City fans before, you turned around and said that even if you was to finish outside the top 4, you wouldn't be disappointed, because obviously, fans like you, especially who've seen City come up through the ranks, you have seen your team become one of the best teams in all of Europe. Is your expectations not to be winning the league every single year?
I'll go first on that if you want. I used to be happy when we used to win a throw-in. That's how bad things were. So to see us winning the treble and stuff like that. Listen, there's a thing going on about with some City sections of City fans now, Dan, where they're doing it basically a Grealish versus Doku thing, and it's getting all personal and stuff like that now. Now, listen, I don't wish to name drop or anything like that, but straight after the game today, I was on BBC Radio Manchester, and this stupidly, and I mean stupidly, asked me this question: would I have started Grealish over Doku? And I just said to him, and I actually used Stan's analogy. I went, listen, I'm sick of hearing all this Grealish versus Doku rubbish. different keys for different locks. They've both got a future. They both can play together. There's just this thing at the moment where you said earlier you won't be asked if United got relegated, to get rid of some of these players and stuff like that. Well, some of us older City fans, we won't be asked if we got relegated to get rid of some of these absolute cretin fans, what we've inherited for some reason. So I totally get where you're coming from, Dan, with that. And I respect.
We still celebrate when we get to 40 points because we know we're safe from relegation. That's an honest one for you.
And I respect that, because obviously
that's the mantra. That's been the mantra for 30 years. Once we get to 40 points, we can relax.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously.
We still
different from the young ones, because the young ones now are expecting what you expected 30 years ago.
Because that's the thing, obviously. I mean, I've only recently turned 20, and, a lot of the fans that I speak to are young fans like me. And obviously, I do see these very big-headed, big ego fans who expect you to win the league, expect you to win the treble again this season because you've strengthened this season. But I look at it and I'm like, you know what? I respect you guys because even after all your success, you're still happy with the just staying in the Premier League, which is something I really respect.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, for me personally, it's the league every year. Yeah. I couldn't care less if they never won the Champions League again. I know they got that monkey off her back there last year. I couldn't give two hoots about the Champions League. It's the Premiership, and anything after that is a bonus.
Do you mean staying in the Premier League or winning the Premier League?
Agreed.
Both. Well, see, it was staying before, but because of the circumstances we find ourselves in now, and the team we have and the manager we have, there's an expectation now to be up there, to be winning the Premier League, But if we didn't win the Premier League this year and we still finished in the top four, it's still a good season, right?
Yeah.
I get you're saying, unfortunately for you, when you start, you say you're 20 years of age, and you're starting to support United now, so you start supporting them when they were kind of the decline as such,
Let's ask the guys in the chat. What would you consider a successful season? For City, this season. I'm like City fans of a certain generation, even a lot older fans like Anne-Marie and Stan, where I'm on a crest of a wave. Watching. It's unbelievable what you just got that, and you stand.
If you can, if you don't mind, I tell you what though, if you don't mind doing it, when you put your expectations down, just put your age next to it, because I tell you what, I think there is not a division, but there is a split. Older fans will laugh and smirk and go, 40 points, that's all right. It's like Douglas has said here, we're City, we're not entitled FC. We're not. We don't feel we're entitled to win anything. Mm-hmm. We're not entitled to win a game. There's none of that's there. We just know that we've got a process that over 10 games, we might win 8, we might draw 1, and we might lose 1. I'll tell you now, I couldn't tell you which one game we'd lose. Things happen. You get players on the pitch that shouldn't have been sent off who scored deflected goals, and we lose it. That's football, damn. You'll win games that you shouldn't win, and you'll lose games that you should have been out of sight after 15 minutes. There's nothing. 140 years that league's been going, and there's nothing you can do to change that. And the quicker you accept it, the better as a fan of any club. And I'm not having a pop at you because you're young and you're a United fan.
Stan, you remember that first game, don't you?
I do. I remember the first time we won the cup. We were the first team in Manchester win. No, I mean, this is little things like, you can pick stuff up when you get older because you don't have to go onto the internet because you've got a thing called a memory, right? And you remember these things that happen. Now, we were the first team in Manchester to win a major trophy. So we didn't come up the ranks. We were there. We've been down, we've been up, we've been down, we've been up. We've been historically one of the top 10 clubs in the whole year, in the whole years of the league's been going. So this narrative that just because we've spent one season in Division 2 doesn't define the club, and we know that.
Yeah, but what Dan's saying is right. Like we have a Facebook group, Dan, the MC20, the Facebook group, and if we lose or we draw, the younger fans have fucking meltdowns. Like you'd think it was the end of the world, you know. They're so entitled. It's on. Like we don't like to see it, you know.
Yeah,
tonight we've got a win, and there'll be a little bit of reaction, but not anywhere as much as if we'd lost.
No, it's perfectly right, that, Dan. As Paddy said then, and Anne-Marie alluded to then, our Facebook group, when we win, it is quiet. When we lose, bloody no, we've got all admins on alert because of the meltdown. It's absolutely bonkers. And
I think that speaks for itself there. When obviously when you're winning, because it's so expected for you guys to win majority of games. I know you guys have said that. You know, you win the game yourself. Not everyone's guaranteed a win. I understand that completely, but you know, that speaks for itself because City have been one of the most, if not the successful team in the world in the last decade for a certain league, excluding likes of Bayern Munich and stuff. But in the Premier League over the last decade, you have been the most successful club. So obviously that's why majority of fans will expect you guys to win. And if you do lose, that's why you do see the meltdown. But like I said, when you win, you know, you kind of take it for granted in almost, because these fans, these younger fans that haven't experienced the true Manchester City, where you were in the lower leagues or you were coming through the ranks, like Manchester City. When people say, like, I'm just saying, like, when people say City have no history, I completely disagree, because you know, during World War II, United's pitch got bombed. We played on City's ground. Like, that's the first bit of history that I can remember off the top of my head. And I'm pretty sure there's much, much more. I have respect for Manchester City. Growing up, I had a dad, I had a mum who once supported United, once supported City. I chose United because of my granddad's team, and I'll always stand by that, and I'll never wear the colour blue.
Dan, can I ask you, you're young compared to us, right? Like, when you say history, what do you mean by that? Do you mean success? This is where I always kind of get lost. When you say history, do you mean success?
Not even success. It's more legacy. It's more history, because I don't think success should determine history. Like, yes, it's a massive part to it, but it's the little things. Like, I'm pretty sure you can imagine, like, obviously I don't follow Manchester City, but you know, that, like, the Busby Babes, that's a massive part of our history. The Munich air crash, a massive fatal disaster, that's part of our history. History doesn't always have to be more on success. And obviously you guys will know the history of your football club because you've seen it. But the younger fans, they are just click on the YouTube and they'll watch these classic matches, or they'll buy the retro shirts and say how long they've been a Manchester City fan for. Like, I saw a comment before saying that every single fan base will have a glory hunting fan, where a fan just bounces from club to club because that's the team that are best in form at the moment.
Fanboys, mate.
Exactly. But fans like us who follow our team, no matter we win, lose or draw, that's what the true definition of fans is for me.
No, totally. And also, if you like, you're 20, so I'm not taking the mick here. You've hardly seen much. And this is why I respect you. You've hardly seen much success with United, have you, over 20 years? You know, you're because of your age, and then you've got the equivalent of your age with City fans. They've only seen success. You know, so there's like this bit of a Mexican standoff where your older fans are probably more tolerant, and older City fans are more tolerant than the younger City fans, if that makes sense. So it's just like a total role reversal, isn't it? You know, between two clubs.
Yeah, completely.
So we're going off the match today, aren't we? And Marie, did I nearly wake you up then, love?
Yeah, nearly.
Yeah. So Anne-Marie, who was your man in the match today? Gary Neville give it to Bernardo. Would you go along with that?
Oh, 100%. 100% Bernardo Silva. I love him anyway, but he was just, as always, never let us down, covered every blade of grass, and fought for everything.
I don't think it was a bad performance today, Stan. Do you? I thought Grealish were brilliant. Obviously Bernardo, John Stones was just absolutely everywhere. As I said earlier, Ederson, what a save he made, and it was just an all-round performance, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Anne-Marie there. I thought Silva was outstanding. He was getting in there and causing all sorts of havoc between the lines. I must admit, Edison's clearly been working on his positioning, and that's getting a lot better. He's stopping shots now further out, forcing strikers into making decisions rather than waiting and trying to stop the shot. So he's doing well. The back three, back four, depending on whether they're attacking or not, they've done fine. Like I say, I thought United did enough to score, but we're away from home at their ground. You're going to have to expect that they will create chances. They will have spells where they're on top, and they will have the chances to score. That's football. You can't just go at United and say, right, we're going to play, pedal on the floor for 90 minutes, win 6-0, and then come home. It's never going to happen. They're going to have them spells. And I thought we dealt with those spells quite well on the whole. Going forward, like I think everyone said, probably in third, maybe fourth now and again gear. But we've had a fair amount of disruption. We've still got Nunes to amalgamate in there. Got the other kids to come in. Gaveston's still hanging in there for Paddy. And it's we're doing all right.
About United could have scored. They had 7 shots in the whole game. 3 were on target, whereas we had 21 shots in the game and 10 were on target. So I think.
Do you know as well? I just looking back at the match, I think most of United's chances came from a bit of sloppy passing from ourselves. There was one where was it Grealish hit the ball early goal.
Foden played a stupid back pass.
Yeah. I think it went wrong for United was at half time when he made them subs. Like they were only 1-0 down at that stage and he went for it. Where most teams who play us don't do that. When they go 1-0 down, they might do it come 70, 75 minutes. I think Forest did it against us, and they go at the attackers then. But Ten Hag made a substitution. He brought your man off the Philip was booked.
Yeah, he brought Amrabat off and brought on Mason Mount.
And he opened up the game and he went for it. And if you open up against the game against Man City, it was the first time I've seen Jack Grealish have one-on-ones with an opposing team. Most of them put 2-3 players on him. United didn't do that. And I think the substitutions at half-time cost. It's not that we were going to lose the game or they were going to win it. But I think that he definitely gave us a helping hand with that substitution at half-time and going for it, attacking us. Because if you open up against us, you are going to get hurt.
Dan, was you surprised that at 2-0 that Ten Hag brought the subs on what he did rather than Martial and Anthony? But even before, did you see Anthony even before he came on was a bit petulant on the bench, giving it all shaking his head.
Yeah, and it really depends on what you want as a fan. Do you want the player showing a bit of passion where they are fuming that they're not being picked, or do you see it as like, what you shake your head at for? Clearly you're not playing because you've not been good enough in training, or you don't meet the criteria to how Ten Hag wants to play for that specific game. Like Andy said, obviously keys for different keyholes and like different players for different games. We saw it from Anthony. Like, I won't be surprised if Anthony doesn't start for the next 2 or 3 games because the way Anthony lashed out on, he had his chance for that last 5 minutes. But what happened? He decided to try and assault Doku, and then after he got a yellow card and he was already being punished, he decided to square up to him again and nearly get himself sent off. Like, that's very unprofessional from a player like Anthony. So if he's shaking his head and sat there on the bench fuming, why don't you actually, when you do get the opportunity to come on, change the game and actually try and do something? The game's already gone when he came onto the pitch, but at least try and show something. Like, at least actually try and put in a bit of fight. But he didn't. He just tried starting fights. But
I think it's because Doku's got long hair. Anthony thought it was a woman.
maybe. But I've just seen the joke. Oh God. I fell into that one. But
when you see your captain doing that, the players are going to follow suit. As simple as that.
I know, and the thing is as well is that what lost the game for me, what turned it into a possible win or a possible draw to a definite loss was taking off Amrabat, because before the game, I turned around and said that United need extra defensive cover against a team like City, a team that are going to be dominant on the ball. United need that extra defensive cover. Obviously, Casemiro is out injured, so I turned around and said that I'd have Reguilon starting at left back because Lindelof got completely exposed by Foden today. Foden was just having an absolute field day against him. And then I would have put someone like Lindelof in midfield just for that extra defensive cover. Lindelof was terrible today, but again, I don't know why he took off. Amrabat was booked from the Foden situation, but still, like, there's still 45 minutes. Like, keep him on for 60. And just try and get a goal back and keep that stability, keep that, the momentum going. And because Amrabat was dropping between the defenders, he was helping that extra defensive cover. But what happened? We brought on Mason Mount. We then got no defensive players in the midfield. The midfield was completely open. McTominay can't track his own shadow. Never mind fucking City players. So at the end of the day, I believe that it's on Erik Ten Hag that we've lost that game. But am I Erik Ten Hag out? Definitely not, because, it's down to the players as much as it is on Erik Ten Hag.
I respect that, Dan. I really do. And, it's like we alluded to it before that, you're sticking with your man because, it's not a case of chopping, changing. You're going to get nowhere because, like you said earlier, you get another manager out. He's got to bring his own players in. It's just a massive, vicious circle. Right, guys, I think we shall wrap it up there because I think we're still having a few YouTube issues. So I'm not sure how the show is coming across to the munchkins in the chat and stuff like that. So anybody get anything before we skedaddle?
Just fair play to Dan for coming on. Can't be easy.
Yeah, no, it's not easy at all. Obviously, again, like I've said, I really respect you guys. Obviously, you're a different type of City fans to what I'm used to talking to. So I've definitely seen a different side to City fans tonight, and I respect you. And if you can subscribe to my channel, whether you like United or not, I'd really appreciate it because I am on the road.
You mean we're old bastards?
No, I'd say that's your funny old bastards.
Dan, Dan's the link to Dan's show. It's either on this one, what we've redone, or it's most certainly the first stream what we came out of. But yeah, go on, give yourself a plug, Dan.
It's Red Devils TV. That's my YouTube channel.
And listen, what I will say about Dan's channel, it's not like all these massive. And listen, we've got them as well as City channels. What just go overboard. Dan's channel is a real channel. I had the pleasure on going on. It was last Friday night, Dan.
Yeah, Friday night. It was,
Friday night is a good lad. So give Dan a follow. Anything from you, Stan?
No, not really. Just happy with the win. Keep them in the box for another 6 months, and then we all start again next year.
You really look happy with that win, mate.
He does, doesn't
he? Yeah. Marie, anything from you?
No, just good that we've got a week off now before our next game, which makes a nice change for us.
And Dan, just before you go,
look at them two at the bottom, Paddy and Dan. They're like a pair of old miserable gets, aren't they? You can tell they're the same age. Dan, your 70th next
before you go, Anne-Marie doesn't really hate Man United because she's got a big, bright red car.
Absolutely. And she lives close to Old Trafford as well, mate.
No,
there we go.
So, thanks for joining us, Dan. It's great to have you on, mate, and we'll have you on again. If you want to come on, later on in the season and stuff like that. But Paddy, thank you for joining us. I think Stan's doing his impression of I don't know, Doctor Who or something. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Listen, sorry, the guys in the chat, thanks for joining us. I know it's been a difficult night because of YouTube issues and stuff like that, so not sure how it's come across, but thank you for joining us nonetheless. Have a good week, all, and we will do it again next week. Bye-bye now.
Bye
folks.
everyone.